Hey guys, tired of feeling stuck in your dating life and striking out in the dating game? You're not alone. Maybe you just need some good coaching. Welcome to Just Ask Her, the no BS podcast for real dating advice straight from a woman's point of view. Dating expert Gracie Pleshcourt and her co-host, certified life coach Tracy Pleshcourt, are here to give you the play-by-play on how to attract more women you're interested in. So, let's take back control of your dating life. This is Just Ask Her.
Welcome back to Just Ask Her, the podcast that helps you date with confidence, connect with real women, and finally feel in control of your love life. I'm your host, Gracie, here with my mom and co-host and certified life coach, Tracy. And in today's episode, we're responding to 3 different submissions from men who are navigating some very real and very relatable dating challenges. First, we have a college student who's trying to keep the spark alive over summer break. Then we'll hear from a 30-year-old listener who worked hard to rebuild his life after a trauma and wonders if women will judge his quiet social life. And finally, a guy who got hit with the dreaded, "I'd be open to it, I think," and never heard from her again. So let's get into it.
All right. So the first submission is from JJ, and he asks, can a 2-week spark survive a 3-month break? Hi, I just started listening to the podcast a couple weeks ago, and I'm loving it. So many relatable stories and real practical advice. Keep up the great work. Also, I originally grew up in Minnesota, so those thick Minnesotan accents hit home. I wanted to share a situation I'd love your take on. I'm a student at USC in Los Angeles, and right before finals week, I met someone from the same Minnesota hometown. We went to different high schools and had a slight age gap, so we've never met before. But it was such a rare and cool coincidence, especially since I don't know anyone from my high school or hometown who's gone to USC. We really hit it off and spent a couple weeks dating and hanging out, even with finals going on. Now it's summer, she's back in Minnesota for an internship, and I'm staying in LA. She mentioned she'd love to reconnect when I'm back home later this summer, probably around the 4th of July, and we'll both be back in LA for the fall semester. So here's my question. How can I keep the momentum going and avoid letting things fizzle out over the summer? We only had a couple weeks to spend together, and now we won't see each other for almost 3 months. Thanks so much.
This is a cute one. Okay, first of all, represent from Minnesota. I love that. I think this is probably really common. Meeting people at college and then having to go home. The thing that you don't necessarily have going for you is the fact that you only met a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But the thing that you do have going for you is you have a lot of ways to connect in this day and age, but also just like the fact that you're from the same hometown, you know where to find her. It's not like she's across the country to some random place you've never been. You can go back there when you want to, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that you're sitting in a better position maybe than if that weren't the case, if you guys weren't traveling back home to the same spot. And it also makes it easier if things were to work out. Obviously, after school, there are a lot of like pros and cons to your specific situation. I also think that maybe there's a little bit of overthinking going on because you guys did just meet. There's still a lot to get to know about each other that you don't want to go overboard in thinking like, wow, we have all these different connections. What are the odds she's from my same hometown? It must be meant to be before you guys have even had the chance to really get to know each other. And it would be weird if you weren't excited about this, mm-hmm. But you need to keep a reality check on this one just a little bit until you have more evidence of whether or not this is actual potential because you guys have only gotten a very short amount of time together.
Yeah. I too love this submission. The standout to me is how rare and how exciting this connection felt to him. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool that he met someone who reminds him of home and in a place that doesn't always feel like home. It can feel so isolating. I don't necessarily think he's overthinking. I would challenge him to think differently about this. A relationship at any stage is going to require energy from both people. So instead of thinking, how do I make sure this doesn't fizzle? I would try asking, how do I stay open? How do I stay grounded and intentional in giving her the chance to meet me there? You want to vet whether or not she's feeling some of the same things and willing to put forth as much energy. So absolutely stay connected this summer, but not through pressure or feeling like you have to perform. Maybe just sending her a photo of something random that reminds you of Minnesota, or something that shows that you're interested in her without turning it into some sort of campaign and feeling like I have to keep this flame alive. Mm-hmm. If she's equally excited to reconnect, she's going to mirror that effort. And so you don't want to go overboard, and you definitely don't want to be driven from like the have to type thoughts. Mm-hmm. You could also just get a little bit curious about what potentially could grow in this space between semesters. You're not in this place of having to preserve something that's fragile. You're experimenting with something new and very real. Like I said, you don't have to force that constant communication. Just create some like very intentional touch points here and there. Get to know her as she is, like right now, not as you remember her to be during finals week. I think there's a little bit of nostalgia that sometimes comes into play here. Use this as your time to get to know her as she is right now. Like, this is going to be a fun break from school. Get to know who she is when she's not at school. Like, mm-hmm. instead of trying to hold on tight to what you had. So I would just challenge you to think a little bit differently. If you start showing up with confidence in who you are, what you bring to the table, that's going to let this connection evolve instead of coming from a place of trying to preserve something.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think, like you said, you got a couple weeks together and now you're not going to see each other for almost 3 months, which isn't totally true, right? You have plans to go home. If this is continued, you're likely going to see her. And I don't think it takes being together every single weekend in order to keep this spark alive. There are ways to communicate. You can FaceTime, you can have phone calls and things like that. If it starts heading in that direction, like if you guys continue to talk and it seems worth it for the both of you to put in that kind of effort, then there's obviously ways to keep the communication alive. You said that you are planning to go back around the 4th of July. That's not that far away. That's about a month away, right? Mm-hmm. And so you are breaking up, even if that's the only time that you're going to go home this summer, you are breaking up that 3-month time span. And I would guess if it goes well and you guys continue to have conversations and things like that, I would guess you guys are going to make another effort to see each other before school starts back up, right? I don't think that means that you should go out of your way to plan all these trips back home. But I also think that you should have a little faith in the fact that if this does go or head that direction, you guys will figure out how to naturally keep that spark alive. Use this time to be curious about her. Ask good questions. Ask questions that show that you're interested in her, that you want to get to know her. Maybe plan a FaceTime date, right? Instead of just a phone call, make sure you both block it off on the calendar and get a little game set up, right? There's so many different online things that you can do to actually make it interesting. So I think if you want to keep the spark alive, show that you are interested, that you'd like to see where this goes. And like you were saying, don't put so much pressure on it. If timing is just not ideal right now, like let's say she's going back home and she really needs to focus on this internship and doesn't have free weekends or doesn't have extra time on her hands that she wants to devote to a relationship that's long distance, that's fair too. You know that she's going to be coming back in the fall and you can try again then if it makes more sense. But I would give it a little bit of an effort now. See where that gets you, and then make some decisions.
Yeah. And because you're both from Minnesota, I have a little tip for you. Try playing the online euchre game. You both probably have euchre experience.
Maybe. I don't know. Euchre's kind of a dying sport. How did he say how old he is? I mean, he's in college. So
yeah, I
don't know that I don't know. There's not that when like my age, I didn't know anybody in school that played.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, JJ, you'll have to write back to us and let us know if you're part of a euchre family or not. But yeah, it is such a Midwest, I think primarily Minnesota
card game.
Yeah. We play all the time.
I play way too much.
Yeah. And they have the online version. So it's kind of fun to have that in common with somebody else that you can play online
There's
against.
So many things like that you can do to make your interactions fun, even if they have to be online for a little bit.
Yeah. And I have a soft spot in my heart for this particular circumstance.
Mhm.
I think about how difficult it is for people who get out of school and find themselves in the dating scene and they don't have that
Constant flow of new people.
just being out of school unifies people and makes it so much easier to be exposed. When I was in college, I always had that in the back of my mind that this is the time where you're looking for a potential partner. I actually met my now husband as a freshman in college. He was a sophomore and he played college baseball and his college team did really well at the Junior College World Series and moved from Washington State to Iowa. Had only been there a couple of months before I met him. And then we dated that entire school year. He ended up getting a full ride offer to Oklahoma and asked me if I wanted to go with him. And so I spent the next 3 years in Oklahoma. Again, had no idea where I was in the country, going from the Pacific Northwest to the Midwest to the Deep South. We were in the very southernmost part of Oklahoma. We were engaged before we graduated college. And I feel so fortunate looking back on that, especially doing what we do now and having exposure to so many young people who are desperately wanting to create connections with people. I think it is hard once you're out of school. So JJ,
it's definitely harder. I agree with you. And I had the exact same thoughts. I graduated college single. And so I was definitely sitting in that boat of, well, now what am I going to do? How in the world am I? All of my boyfriends previous had been people I met through school, like all growing up. It wasn't ever guys off the dating apps or anything like that. It was always people that I met through school. So yeah, I was definitely in that camp of, oh shit, now what am I supposed to do? How in the world am I supposed to meet somebody that I actually would get along with and want to date and all the things? But also, I want to put this out there for the people that are out of college now and have not met their person. You're not behind. It's definitely a fear-based thought that can get brought up, especially through society.
Yeah. Before we started recording, I asked Gracie to help me find the statistic on married couples and how many of them met while in school. And it was actually lower than I thought. I think it was 28% report that they met while in school. It's probably more from my generation. Your generation is just now starting to get married. I think your generation is going to be less.
Yeah, where do you think the majority are meeting their partner?
Dating apps for sure.
Yeah, it's the number one.
Yeah. JJ can go against the grain and pursue this, and who knows what will happen.
And I do agree. You have a lot less access to people after school. That's just the way it goes, especially if you went to a bigger college or even bigger high school. But that doesn't have to mean that you're out of options or your options are limited. They might be less than what they were, and that's okay. That's totally normal. And you might have actually better exposure to your person now that you're not in school, right? There are a bunch of different perspectives that you could have on this. And I definitely wouldn't choose the one that feels defeating. Like, now what am I supposed to do? I'm not around people all the time. I don't have the ways to meet new people. You might not right after college, but you can find them. And arguably, you could probably find better places that are more aligned with what you want in a partner out of like hobbies and your job and other people that you've met or mutuals and things like that.
When you're in school, you don't need any additional resources. Now that you're out of school, there are so many resources available to you, like your community or the dating apps or coaches that can help you navigate this in a really effective way.
We get write-ins all the time that I just don't live where I have a lot of people to meet, or I live in a small town, or there aren't girls I'm interested in here. There probably are. You're probably just comparing it to something else, and that's probably not serving you. So how can we shift that? How can we find more opportunities for you? I think that's probably a better place to be than how in the world am I supposed to meet my person now that I don't have all these people at my fingertips.
Yeah. So with that being said, JJ, this is a very exciting opportunity. We will be excited to hear how this plays out for you.
Yeah.
So have a great summer and make sure that you keep us in the loop.
Yeah. All right. So the second submission is from Mike, and we titled it, "Do Women Respect the Grind or Think I'm Too Isolated?" First of all, I just want to say thank you. I recently discovered your podcast, and it's helped me build the confidence to take the leap and finally start dating seriously. Oh, I love that. I just turned 30, and throughout my 20s, I had a few on and off situationships, but haven't really had any real relationships in quite a while. But 3 years ago, I was in a serious car accident, and over the past year, I've been working through the PTSD in therapy. I can't recommend therapy enough to other men. Not only has it helped me process the trauma, it's also helped me discover who I am and build real confidence. As I started putting myself out there again, planning to try the dating apps first, my main concern is that I've been very career focused over the last 5 to 6 years. It's taken a toll on my social life. That said, I've built a strong foundation for my life. I'm a homeowner and I'm in a solid place financially. Still, part of me worries that women might find it unattractive that I only see my friends once a month or so. I'd love your thoughts on how women view men who are really career driven. I'm actively trying to set better boundaries between work and my personal life, but I want to know if that effort shows and if it's something women respect or find off-putting. Really appreciate all that you do for men like me, Mike. That's so cute.
That is cute.
I know.
I'm feeling the love from these guys today.
Honestly.
All right. So, Mike, first off, thank you for your vulnerability. I really want to just acknowledge the work that you've done coming out of something life-altering as a traumatic accident and choosing therapy, reflection, and growth over avoidance and denial. That kind of like ownership, you can't fake it. Like that is hard won and it shows. So good on you. I just want to recognize that and applaud you. Okay, now to your question. So how do women view men who are career driven but don't have a social life? I think the truth might surprise you because most emotionally healthy women aren't going to be scanning your life for how many friends you have on speed dial. They're going to be tuning into something that's so much more meaningful, which is your emotional availability, your intention, your energy. So from what you've shared, you're not hiding in your career anymore. You're like stepping out. You're actively carving space for something more. And that right there, that is deeply attractive. Not because it's flashy, but because you're being very real. You're not just a man with a resume. You're a man who is being intentional and going after what it is that you want. And women who are grounded, who are also intentional, they are going to be drawn to that for sure.
Yeah. Not every woman's going to like it, to be honest with you. But the women that you'll be attracted to are going to like it, right? It's one of those things I can very much relate to. It was the number one things on my list that I wanted out of my partner was somebody who was motivated, had their own goals and ambitions in their career, because that's where I'm at in my life. And I wanted somebody that was going to support that. I wanted somebody that was going to push me to be a better person and to hit my goals and to challenge me. And that's what I wanted. And so that's very much so what I was looking for. But there's of course going to be women that are in a place where they want more time with their partner. They want a partnership that can have more of a social life, that they can go out and do things with on a frequent basis. And if that's not where you're at, it's okay because you don't need to go out with those women. What women want gets very generalized. And truly, every woman is going to want something different out of their partner. And that's just the way it goes. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think telling yourself that there's only one way or there's only one type of guy that women are looking for is probably not helpful to you because you don't want to be like every other guy. You actually want to make yourself stand out. And I think you do a pretty good job of that by being this guy who has put his career first, built this really sustainable, healthy life for himself. And so instead of looking at that as a setback or a barrier in your dating life, I would look at it as, okay, how does this actually add value to my dating life and what I would bring to a partnership, right? And you're going to learn how to balance that with your dating life because inevitably there's going to be a shift in how you spend your time if you bring somebody else into your life. It's more so deciding what you want out of a partner than worrying about how all women are going to perceive you because all women are going to perceive you differently depending on what their goals are and what it is that they're looking for in a partner. I would say it bodes well for you that you have goals and ambitions. I think that is an attractive quality that women look for. but sometimes that can be too much for some people. The one thing I will say is that if you don't have an active social life right now, you might find it harder to meet people in general. You said you're going to start with the dating apps, and maybe that will be a good place to start, and you won't have to rely as much on your social life. But those social skills are really important to have when it comes to connecting with people in general. It would be beneficial to you to strike that balance now of at least spending very quality time in the social settings that you're choosing and making them very intentional on the people you spend your time with, and putting yourself in places that would give you opportunities to meet women that would maybe fall in those same goals and ambitions that you do. If you've gotten so used to focusing on your career and spending time doing things towards that, I would see where we can start to make some shifts. If you're wanting to prioritize dating more right now and meeting more women, you can take the time that you are spending in your social life now and adjust it to be more beneficial to your dating life.
Yeah. And if you need some help with that, go to Gracie's free resource page that has multiple guides. She's got an online guide on how to approach women,
how to set up your dating profile and how to optimize it. Also, how to approach or start conversations with new women, and then how to build chemistry with women. Those are all on datingwithgracie.com.
Yeah. And Mike, we want to really help you get to a place where you're proud of the investments that you've made to get you to where you're at. And at the end of the day, you're not done. You're not a finished product. You're going to continue to take your ambitions and evolve. And so you want to find the woman who appreciates that. Do not start off apologizing for where you're at or what you have invested your time into.
Good thing to point out is if this gets brought up in conversations with new women that you're meeting, as you're talking about your social life or as you're talking about how you've spent the last 5 to 6 years of your life, talk about it with a lot of pride. Don't talk about it from a place of insecurity of what that meant for your social life. Be straight up. I've been really career focused. I've been working towards these goals for myself. I've been putting myself in a place where I was able to buy my first home and set myself up for my future, because that's always what's been important to me. And now I'm finding that I have the space or I have the capacity to start meeting more people and to start prioritizing my dating life, right? That has a much different tone than you coming into the conversation worried about how she is going to perceive your quote unquote lack of social life. Don't go into the conversation feeling like that is going to be something that deters her. Or
that you have to make up for that. Like,
right.
You are actively living and you are making all of these really good decisions about who you're becoming and who you're going to start connecting with. So yeah, you're bringing a lot to the table and you should be really proud of that. So no apologizing.
No self-deprecating. You talk about that with a lot of pride.
Yeah, exactly. So we are very excited for you, Mike. Thank you so much for writing in, and take a look at those free guides on datingwithgracie.com. Hey there. If you're loving the Just Ask Her podcast, please take a quick second to rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps more awesome listeners like you find the show. And don't forget to spread the love by sharing this episode with all of your friends. All right, back to Just Ask Her. Our third submission is from Rich, and we titled this, "She Said I'd Be Open to It, I Think." What does that even mean? Hi, Gracie. I had a couple questions I was hoping to get your opinion on. There's a girl I reached out to over DM. We're mutual acquaintances through someone we both know. I asked her out for a casual meet and greet over drinks or coffee. She responded, "So nice you reached out to me. I'd be open to it, I think." I was about to leave for a 2-week work trip, so I sent her my number and asked for hers. She did not send her number, but I told her I'd follow up when I got back. The Monday before I returned, I messaged her again asking which weekend worked better for her, this upcoming one or the following. I didn't get a response. I haven't messaged her again because I understand that no answer is an answer, and I'm just not sure what to make of the whole thing. We only had 2 brief 2-sentence exchanges before this, so it wasn't anything deep. My question is, what do you think she meant by "I'd be open to it, I think"? Thank you, Rich.
Unfortunately, I think she is not that into it. It doesn't sound to me like she is into the idea of grabbing drinks or coffee with you. And I know that can be really confusing because she obviously responded to your opening message and then responded again after you asked and kind of gave you a wishy-washy answer. Usually if it's not clear, if it's not a straight up yes, usually it's a no, or it's her trying to find her way to a no. And that's the most confusing for men. And it's so interesting because when I was single and in the dating scene, and especially if it was somebody that reached out that I knew through mutuals, I had a really, really hard time telling them that I wasn't interested if that's where I was at. Because I always was like so scared of hurting anybody's feelings. Like I didn't want to make things awkward or make them feel like I didn't like them as a person. And my go-to, which I now would never do to somebody, now being in this space and understanding what that does to men on the other side. But my go-to used to be like hoping that they would just let it go. Like if I let it drag on long enough, hopefully he'll just get the hint and let it go. And I think there's a lot of women that operate the same way. And to be fair, I was not a good communicator at that time. I struggled with the idea of hurting anybody's feelings. And in my head, it made more sense to let them feel like they made the decision.
Yeah.
Almost. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective of what's going on the other side. It's not that you're not worthy or that you don't deserve somebody great or that she thinks that you're not worth it. She could just be in a different place in her life. There could have been not enough connection on the front end whenever you guys first met. I don't know if you said you guys have met before. I think you just said you're mutual acquaintances. So maybe you haven't met. And so that can be really hard to strike up a conversation, especially over DM. In the future, a better route to go is to reach out to your mutual friend and get some more information from them first and then make this approach. And even better is if that mutual friend can connect the two of you. That's like the best case scenario, is if you can get connected through the person that you guys already know, because she's going to trust you more. She's going to be a lot more likely to want to say yes if her friend is saying these great things about you, or if her friend is saying that you're interested in her and you'd love to take her out and honestly doing the heavy lifting for you. That's the ideal. If you feel comfortable enough to reach out to your mutual friend to see if she's even single or if she's dating or if she's looking to date or what she would think if you asked her out for coffee, right? Mm-hmm. Like asking those kind of questions can be super beneficial. And it's just being willing to be vulnerable enough to ask your friend.
Yeah.
Right? That usually lands better. It has everything to do with the trust that they've already built with their friend. They're going to be so much more likely to want to say yes if their friend is like, oh yeah, I know this person, he's really into you and he wants to take you out. What do you think? That's exciting. And that's not random. That's her friend coming to her saying that, rather than some guy that she doesn't know that's connected to her friend coming out of nowhere and asking.
Yeah, I think that will definitely help next time.
Yeah.
I think your question, what did she mean by maybe, or I think, your real question is, how do I not take this personally? And to be honest, Rich, you have clarity. You've done everything right. She offered the hesitation. And when somebody gives you that kind of maybe and then doesn't follow through, not even with a simple text back, it's not your job to decode her. It's just your job to kind of honor your own clarity. That gives you the clarity that you need. You already told us that. And what I love is that you didn't chase and that you didn't spiral. You reached out to us with intention. You offered an easy next step. You gave her space. That is being really healthy emotionally. That kind of emotional maturity is attractive, even when it feels disappointing.
You gave her everything she needed to say yes. And I think this is really good for everybody listening. If you've done that, if you've done your job, there's nothing else you need to worry about. And I know it's easy to get caught up in, should I have said something different, or what did I say, or how can I change this so she wants to go out on a date with me? No, you don't need to do anything.
Yeah. The win is that you showed up without needing to contort yourself into getting a yes. You didn't make her indecision mean anything about your worth. You have stayed grounded in your own. And the truth is, you're not a maybe kind of man. You're clearly a kind and confident man. And the right woman won't make you guess what she means. She's going to match your clarity with her own. We think that you did absolutely everything right, including reaching out and really hearing a different perspective on this. And we hope that you try that perspective on because we feel like it's a good fit for you.
Yeah.
The way you handle a maybe says more about your future than whether you ever get that reply.
Yeah.
I hope that this has really been a growth opportunity for you because you're 3/4 of the way there.
Yeah. You'll never have to convince the right person. You just won't. And there's something to be said for putting in the effort and like really showing your interest. And that's all important. Showing romantic intent early on is super important. But beyond what's in your control, you have to let go of, because it doesn't help you to sit here and spiral. What exactly does this message mean? It doesn't really matter if she never responds. I totally get it. I've totally sat in your shoes and wanted somebody to text back that didn't. And it's not fun, but at the same time, you're worth a lot more than the time that you're willing to give worrying about what this meant or whether she's going to get back to you. You can hold your head high that you did everything right in this situation. And if she chooses not to take you up on it, it is her loss. And
totally,
you should absolutely walk away with that mentality.
Yep. And she just filtered herself out for
Totally.
you. So as much as it stings a little bit, hopefully this new perspective will really help you recognize that she's just allowed you to move on quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. And usually it doesn't mean all of the like negative, horrible things you make it mean about yourself. That's just something we do as humans. When we don't get the result that we want in life, we immediately default to the negative and make it mean something negative about us. But how could this situation mean anything negative about you? She doesn't even know you. She doesn't even know what you bring to the table yet, right? That's a super important message for everyone to hear. If you're ever in a situation like this where you've reached out to somebody and they didn't get back to you,
or you didn't get the job, I mean, this can apply to
totally
any of life's circumstances.
It's like you haven't even been given the opportunity to show your value. That's the real shame. But it's not something that you have to worry about. It's unfortunate for them, but you don't get to make it mean something negative about you when they didn't even have the opportunity to make a real judgment about you.
That's exactly right. Yeah. This has been your opportunity to manage your mind, and you'll have this as evidence that you can manage your mind through quote unquote rejection. And it is going to make you a much more resilient person. And so as you evolve, continue to manage your mind around this and all the other circumstances that are surely going to come up. You can even expect them to come up.
Yeah.
And use this as the evidence that you managed your mind through it all and became stronger for it.
Totally.
Thank you, Rich, for that submission. If you have something that you would like our perspective on, please don't hesitate to submit your question. We will have the link in the show notes. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd certainly love to give you our perspective and help you feel differently about your dating life. The show is called Just Ask Her because we don't want you to be shy about asking us for our opinion. Of course, we are also encouraging you to get out there and don't overthink it. Just ask her and take that first step. The first step is the heavy lifting that you need to get out there and just ask her. So thank you for listening to this episode, and we hope to see you back here on episode 29. Until then, take care.
Thanks for listening to Just Ask Her. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to rate and review us, and be sure to follow Gracie on TikTok and Instagram at @datingwithgracie. Thanks again for listening.